Hello everyone, Lawrence here from Unicorn Reviews with the Silverstone Redline RL06. With the RL06, Silverstone claims to take affordable enthusiast PCs to the limit. So let's see if Silverstone created a solid product or if they pushed beyond the limit. Packaging is average, but it's sturdy enough for shipping a full system. When I first saw the case, I was really impressed with the paint job. It's a matte black powder coat, but with a much finer, almost soft touch texture to it. It does pick up fingerprints, but less so than I expected. There are different versions and colors of the RL06. What I have here is the black and red tempered glass Pro edition. It comes in at around 90 euros, and what makes this case Pro is that it comes with 4 fans. 3 of them have red LEDs in them. These fans aren't too loud, but the top front one had an annoying ticking noise to it, so I just replaced all the fans for my build. The RL06 is an ATX case, but in a much smaller size than usual, because I often complain about cases being too large inside, and that's not the case here. What does bother me though is that the plastic front panel adds about 5 centimeters or 2 inches of depth without adding any functionality. Now, RL stands for red line, but I'm happy to report that you can undo the red line and wrap or paint it in whatever color you want. Now, removing this front panel, you find a very large dust filter with a pretty poor mounting system. Vibrations and gravity alone can make it come slightly undone on the top area. Behind it are the triple 120mm fans, which are recessed into the case. You can also fit dual 140s here, but triple 140s don't fit. A 240mm radiator will fit easily, but 2 80mm radiators will require a little bit more messing around, as we'll see later. There's a magnetic dust filter up top with room for double 120 or 140mm fans. Now again, you can easily mount a 240mm rad here because the holes are offset, but a 280mm radiator will very likely interfere with your motherboard. The third dust filter is underneath the power supply, and it's the crappy type of dust filter, so let's just not give it any more attention than it deserves. The rear of the case is pretty standard. There's a 120mm fan here, which isn't on slots, so no adjustability here, and you get 7 PCIe covers, the good type, and room for an ATX power supply. I/O is very good. There are 4 USB ports, 2 of them USB 3.0, there's an audio in and audio out, but sadly there's no reset button or USB Type-C port here. The big star here with the tempered glass Pro model, of course, is the tempered glass side panel. Now, what I really like about this panel and how Silverstone implemented it is there are posts to hang the panel from, and what other cases do is they put little rubber sleeves over those posts. Silverstone actually integrated the rubber sleeving into the glass so you can't possibly lose them, which is a really nice touch. I also love how there's a protective film on both sides so you don't have to clean the panel when you're done building. Removing the window reveals the interior. Now, it's roomy but not too large. In the front you can see the fan mounts, and I personally don't like these, as you'll see later with the build. They don't always line up perfectly. The basement covers the entire length of the case, limiting radiator options. The frontal area here of the motherboard has mounting options for radiators or reservoirs, but because of the limited radiator clearance up top and in the rear and in the front, I really doubt anyone's ever going to use them, because if you put a tube rest here, where are you going to put your radiator? And because this case offers such incredibly good airflow, I mean, the entire front is open, the entire top and rear is open, I would just recommend everyone to go with an air-cooled build. You can fit tower coolers up to 158mm, so that should cover most big air coolers as well. So by all means, go with air cooling over water cooling with this case. The motherboard tray has enough spacing on all sides to make mounting and wiring the board an easy job. There are plenty of cutouts and all of them are rolled, so you won't find any sharp edges. There aren't any rubber grommets though. Moving to the back side then. This panel is a little bit flimsy, but that will actually come in handy later. There's room for 5 drives. On the motherboard tray are 2 2.5-inch mounts, and there are also triple 3.5-inch hard drive cages below with also SSD compatibility. Behind that cage is the power supply room. It isn't very big and there aren't any rubber mounts here. You really want to make sure you connect your cables to your power supply before sliding it in from the side. Cable management is going to be rather important because there's not a lot of room. Luckily, there are a lot of zip tie hoops around the center and the front, but there's no love for the 8-pin CPU connector. What we also find on this side of the motherboard tray is the fan splitter. Now, it's a 10-way fan splitter, which in theory would be awesome, but there's no way of adjusting the speed. So you're just stuck running these at 12 volts. And if you use, for example, a fan speed reducer, so a little resistor, it will actually drop the fan speed too much because there are so many fans being driven off of that single fan splitter. So I really don't like it. What you probably also noticed by now are the awesome cables on the stock fans. I mean, if you're doing a fast food or Germany themed build, you're going to love these. Talking about the build then, I could have made my life super easy and done an entire system in this case, in about 25 minutes, if I used some common sense, which I didn't. So I started by removing all the panels and filters to make working with this case easier. I then removed the stock fans, all 4 of them, and the fan hub because I have other plans here. With the case all stripped down, I inserted the I/O shield and the motherboard. I then removed it again to install 3 more standoffs. I'm using a 280mm all-in-one liquid cooler, which is something I seriously wouldn't recommend. I very quickly noticed that the end tanks on my radiator would touch the USB 3 cable on the I/O. So instead of mounting the fans to the outside where you should put them, I had to put them inside the case and use them as spacers to clear those cables. But I did still want to go push-pull on this radiator. Now earlier I said that I really liked that this case isn't too large inside, but this actually became a little bit of an issue because the push-pull on the radiator actually meant that there wasn't enough clearance for my graphics card. At this point, a sane person would have just gone with push on the radiator. Instead, I just cut off and filed down my GPU, so now it just about fits with push-pull on that 280mm radiator. Of course, this made the interior super tight, so I removed the GPU again, did all my cabling first, and then reinstalled the graphics card. And from here on, the build was a breeze and didn't take me more than 5 minutes. Now, Silverstone didn't include any zip ties, so I did my build without them as well, which resulted in the side panel needing some persuasion to close. Now overall though, I really did enjoy my time building in this case. It's just a bit of a shame that the first 7 centimeters now of the case are just completely unused. It's just emptiness inside of there. To come back to the original question then, did Silverstone push too far in making this case affordable? I honestly wouldn't say so. For the price, you get a great quality paint job. You get a really interesting interior, nice front panel if you like this sort of stuff, it's easy to modify. It comes with 4 fans, comes with a fan splitter, and sure, you could, discuss how useless the fan splitter is and how ugly the wiring is on the stock fans, but you do get it, you do get 4 fans at only €90, which is really nice. My only real complaint is that there should have been more room for cable management behind the motherboard. Unless you do a really good job of it, the side panel is just going to look as curved as an NZXT Manta, which you really don't want. So guys, if you like this video, please hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon so you don't miss a future update. And if weekly videos aren't enough for you, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter for more frequent updates. I want to say a massive thanks to the patrons for helping me get the light setup and the audio setup and the camera setup, all that sort of gear that I need to produce these videos. So big thanks to all the patrons. But for now, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.